same for you. People always looking at me like she ain't got a clue. Yeah, I'm corny as they come, but I'm pretty deep. Marching at the sound of his tongue, then I hit the knees. I'm unpopular, yeah, I'm unpopular. She's unpopular, yeah, she's unpopular. It's unpopular, yeah, it's unpopular. It's unpopular, it's unpopular. What up, Unpop, and welcome to another one. If this is your first time joining, welcome to Unpopular, where I talk about how unpopular I am, how unpopular my thoughts are, and then I just talk about other things that are unpopular concerning Christians and just things that are happening in the world. I'm pretty different. My God is magnificent. The enemy is belligerent, yet Christ is still magnificent. So if you like it, hit that bell and stick around. My guest for today just launched a new and impressive show called The Center. She is also the founder and owner of VLG Productions, and she is a former chief marketing officer and communications officer at Salem Academy and College, and she's an award-winning chief marketing officer, might I add. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome to Unpopular, Véronique George. Hey girl, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so very much. It's an honor to be here.
Yes. I first met you a really long time ago. I think if I'm not mistaken, 15 years ago now. And we were part of a organization that did an event called WeBank. And at the time, I know I was unofficially using ID Productions with a K. And I was working on a few different short films, and I was asked, because I was also on the Entrepreneurship Society, and so I was asked to join through my classmate and friend Faye and Mr. Muhammad, who was in charge of the in charge of the Entrepreneurship Society, and to join a group of amazing women from across the nation to be at this event called WeBank. And which stands for Women Business Enterprise National Council. And there's like 4 other women that I felt like I just connected with. And I was just like, I like these ladies. And we've, it's been some years for sure. And I think we just kept in touch over social media, the way most people do these days. And I've just been admiring you from afar. And I'm excited to have you on, and I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you. Well, that means so much to me because I remember you in great detail from WeBank and all the amazing women that I had the privilege of meeting during that experience. And you've always stayed with me. So it's been a pleasure watching you grow and blossom and bloom in your respective areas. So kudos to you and congratulations.
Thank you, girl. We're trying out here. So, speaking of WeBank, I talked a little bit about how I got into it. How did you get into WeBank, and how did you learn about it?
Yeah, through my school. I went to Florida A&M University. I graduated with my master's in marketing, and they oftentimes gave us an opportunity, especially leadership opportunities and being women of color, to expound upon our skill sets. And I was offered the opportunity to go. Florida A&M covered it for me, and I'm so grateful because not only did I meet you, as stated, I met so many wonderful women who opened up my eyes even to what the next steps and possibilities could look like, which I had not seen before in that way. So I'm forever grateful for the opportunity.
Do you remember? I remember some of the guest speakers, or there's a lot of celebrities actually in the building that day, and I remember just thinking like, oh, that was my first experience ever being in a space like that, ever being in a room full of millionaires and billionaires and people with titles and names, and it was refreshing, but it was also intimidating. Do you remember who was in the building that day?
Oh man, I do not remember. I'm not going to name drop. I do not want to do that to myself.
Yeah.
But who stands out to me, people that I still keep in contact with. I know there was Teresa, who was over supplier diversity at a large corporation, and we are connected on LinkedIn to this day. And so those people that I formed special relationships with. I remember my dean, of the School of Business and Industry at the time. So I think honing in on what you said, the people that we met that really made an impact on us are the people that I remember. And I remember the president of WeBank standing up and just applauding women in business. I had not seen that before. And I would not even have thought that I would be an entrepreneur today. So the fact that my professors in the School of Business and Industry saw that within me when I couldn't see it in myself, when I thought that I was just going to work in corporate and marketing and that was going to be it, and I just wanted to reach the highest rank in the corporate space, to now working in this space and also building my company on the side, it's so rewarding. And it's something when other people plant that seed within you, how you can see it grow and manifest so many years later.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. There was I think we had like dedicated mentors and things like that. I can't think of the name of my mentor, but I believe she was like the CEO of Chevron at the time, or holding some type of executive position or title. And then I remember actually Robin Roberts. I remember she was there.
Oh my
And
God. That's right.
gosh. There's one other that I'm thinking, but we'll have to do a reunion show or something and go into more detail on that one on another show.
I remember we were heading out and I saw Robin Roberts and I got her book. And something within me just said, go and see if you can get her email address and see if she would be your mentor and reach out to her. And when I got up to the front, she was signing books at the time. I said, could you please give me your email? I would love to stay in contact with you. And she said, I typically don't do this. Like, I stopped doing this a very long time ago. And I got her email address and I followed up with her.
Let's go.
So the fact that, she said that, the fact that she also said yes in that moment when so many other women said yes, even to bring me to that space, has always stayed with me. And she responded. And I was like, this is amazing. But the fact that unction, right, that you just go for it, no matter if other people are doing it or not, it's what you're going to do that's different, that's going to set you apart, and that's going to open doors for you.
Yeah, you shot your shot before shooting your shot was a thing.
Exactly. That's what I did all the time. All the time.
I love that. So let's back up a little bit and let's talk about who Véronique George is. Who are you?
Oh man, that's a beautiful question because I'm discovering who I am, right? And in many phases of my life, I am not vamping or revamping into something else. I'm only adding to the existence of who I am. And so to get to know myself throughout this journey has been the most rewarding experience for me. I can think back to when I was a child and I loved the performing arts and I was in plays at school. And so I would find opportunities to act and to dance and to sing, even if it was off key. It's okay. We just went with it.
That's right.
But finding those opportunities to really do the things that brought me joy, and finding now, even through college, and getting excited about marketing and creativity and storytelling, right? All of the pieces of my life have really worked together. In fact, I was just thinking about that today, that in the many areas of experience that I have, and I'm grateful for working with so many different teams across so many different brands, that everything has worked together to create and to develop who I am right now. But that's an evolving story. I'm still discovering who Véronique George is, but I can say that I am so very, very proud of myself and of what I've been able to accomplish. And I'm not forgetting the fact that I'm only here because of the great mentors, women and men, and family members who have poured into me, who told me that you're going to make it. Like, you can do this. Go after your dreams, go after your goals. And I'm falling in love with this woman more each day. So I hope that answers your question.
It absolutely answers the question. And you absolutely should be proud of who you are becoming, who you've become, and who you're becoming. Absolutely. Um, do you feel like there's been, points in that journey of becoming where you were a little uncertain? And I mean, I'm sure I know the answer to that question, but where you felt a little uncertain, you felt a little unsure, um, but somehow you found that power, that oomph to keep going. And it sounds like it was a bit of your community, but speak to that a little bit. What pulled you through those moments? And were they often?
That's a good question. They have not been often, but they have been, right? It's a real lived experience. And it's something that I think is a natural response. So, a response to life's challenges and trials. I think it's natural for you to ask within yourselves or even to others, am I really supposed to be doing this? Is
Mhm.
this really what my calling is or my career or profession is when you face those challenges and obstacles?
Mhm.
And what I found that gets me over those humps is the belief in myself, right? Because even with mentors and people telling me that I can do it, I have to remember who I am and
Mhm.
who I rely on. And knowing that what's inside of me and what I have to offer is so much greater than what's going on outside of me. It's so much greater than the trials and the tribulations and the challenges, if you will, because they too will pass. And
Mhm.
you just have to know that because they will pass, you can get through it.
Mhm.
What's really helped me in a practical sense is to stay focused on my goals, like
Mhm.
not let anything deter me, distract me from my goals and my passions and what I hope to accomplish. And so keeping that at the center and at the forefront of everything that I do propels me forward because it is forward, right? The goals are forward. So if you focus on forward thinking and your goals that are forward, then you're only going to move in the direction that you're looking at.
That's so good. That is so good. I love how you said that. Um, Speaking of forward, you have a new show, an amazing show, and it's well done. And it's called The Center. Why
Yes.
now? Why the center?
It's that process of becoming, right? And so when I moved to North Carolina, it was because of a chief marketing position. I was invited to lead the rebrand of the nation's first institution of higher educational learning for women and girls.
Mm.
And not only did I say yes to that, it took me out of Florida and away from my home and all things that were comfortable for me, but
Mm.
it landed me in a space where I could discover more of who I am. And it's in that discovery of being passionate about women and girls and being passionate about the arts, because this city is known for the arts and innovation, that I discovered the opportunity and really the calling to say yes to producing a show for women and girls centered around women and girls who are experiencing challenges, just
Mm.
like I have, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And creating this space and this community and bringing in experts and resources and tools to help women and girls overcome every challenge that they may face. And we're doing it
Mhm.
in a way that's holistic because we're more than just our careers or building our finances, building our wealth. You know, you really have to look at the whole person, and that's what
So
I'm
good.
concerned about. That's something that's helped
So
me on
good.
my journey. It's like spirituality and belief in God and faith, but it's also looking at the entire woman, the entire man holistically. And so that's what I'm offering through this show. So we're touching on mental health and awareness. We're touching on making sure that you are staying fit, that your finances are a part of your journey and your story, that you're helping to define what your calling looks like so then you can act on that. So it's looking at the whole woman and bringing in experts that I've met that are some phenomenal, amazing women who are accomplishing great things and
Mhm.
reaching impacting so many lives. And so at the center of this show is really resonating and identifying myself and others and being able to
Mhm. Mhm.
help them to grow and to pull them along. I think it's really important that as we climb, we help others to climb as well. So that's the premise and the foundation of the show, the center.
Yeah, I love that. Especially when you talk about mental health. Man, I feel like I referenced this on the show at some point, but I was watching a podcast and there was a woman who said there is a difference between mental health and mental illness. And I just thought you hit it on the nail because we have not truly dealt with mental illness, honestly, as a nation, let alone as a people, Black people.
Right.
But that we could dive into that. That's another conversation for another day. But I'm excited to see how you unfold that on your show because um, we have barely scratched the surface when it comes to that for sure.
I
So I'm excited
agree.
for that. I'm excited for that. You
You.
the last time you came on the other platform that I have and had, Akata 5 Minutes with an Akata, you were interviewed by my then host, and we revealed and talked to you about the word Akata. Since then, and some of that conversation also centers around, unifying the Black community, people of African descent across the globe. What are some of your thoughts on that now, since having that conversation, since that dialogue? Did your eyes kind of highlight things a little differently? Did you kind of not only see things differently, but did you kind of arrive at a different answer when it comes to, like, you know do you feel like there is a divide, and if there is, how do we breach it? Has your perspective changed?
Yeah, what I appreciated about that conversation was the fact that we were having the conversation. Like, it's the awareness for me. It's just the fact that we are talking through this, that we're not ignoring that these issues exist within the Black diaspora, within the Black community, across the globe. And so taking a look at what really unites us and what connects us and
Yep.
what our shared values and what our shared interests, is what I would offer in this conversation now, instead of looking at what separates us, whether that is physical land, like we're physically not close to
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
How else can we support one another? How else can we show up for one another to make an impact, not only in our communities, but together? Right. And so that's what I would offer in this moment is, if anything, I definitely appreciated that conversation, but also taking a look and being aware that, all right, this is where we are. How can we work together? What are our common goals that we can push forward as a unit, as a
Hmm.
community? And
Hmm.
that's what I'm interested in. Like, let's do that work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, because the conversation to me is like, in order to push forward, we have to kind of, we got to dig. We got to
Yeah,
dig and have some uncomfortable conversations.
right.
And it's not always going to feel good. It's not always going to sound good or look good, but we have to have them. But at the same time, what are some solutions? We're not just talking to talk. We're making sure that we're finding solutions and that we're moving forward in those, just like you said. So I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, very good.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, talk a little bit about what exactly you do in your field for those who may not know, for those who may be interested and want to, look into doing that one day.
Absolutely. I'll start off with my company, the VLG Group, because that's what I am focused on right now. And being a chief marketing officer and working in marketing for the past 12 years has definitely led me to this point. But I'm so excited, like just like how I'm discovering myself, the business has evolved really organically and naturally. So
Mm,
what started off as me telling stories from a playwright perspective, writing and producing plays, evolved during the pandemic when the world stood still, to
mm,
producing shows
mm,
digitally, for our community complimentary during that time. And then I got passionate about producing shows. And so what led me to do that was creating a space where not only did I entertain, but I also educated the community and introduced new voices when it came to entertainment. And naturally, that led to now my show, The Center, produced for the first time this year. We're about to wrap up the first season. And so the through line for me is storytelling and arriving at the point where now it's a strategic approach to storytelling is how I approach my work. But you'll see that footprint, right? Whether it's in plays or shows, and now evolving into marketing strategy, which is what the VLG group offers. I've had the pleasure of working with some really great names and brands and people, most of all to help tell their stories and help to highlight and bring the work that they do forward.
Yeah. Selah.
For instance, NC Black Rep is a client that we just wrapped up a rebrand on and introduced a new look and feel for the company. They are the first Black professional theater company in North Carolina. And I was so grateful for the opportunity to work with them over the course of a year and develop how they're going to show up, in this space. And not only that, but how they're going to show up digitally to reach the next lovers of art and of Black theater and theater as a whole. So I'm so excited to be working on projects like that. I had a chance to work on a project on Broadway and another show that NC Black Rep produced called Phenomenal Woman Maya Angelou that's now in development for Broadway.
Nice.
And so all of these opportunities just reinforce really my love for storytelling. And this is a space I definitely am thrilled to be in. And so naturally, storytelling is the through line, but now I'm focused on both marketing strategy more, rebranding work, of course, an integrated approach to marketing being a part of that, but also education and producing digital courses and helping, women business owners and business owners as a whole be set up for success, to have the tools and the resources that they need that I've grown over the past 12 years to help them succeed in their business. And so that's what I'm focused on now in the VLG group. VLG Productions is now a part of a parent company called the VLG Group, and the VLG Group produces shows, plays, and now we offer marketing strategy as a part of our products and services. So grateful to be here in this space and to really utilize all of my years of experience and working in the agency life and agency world on some really big brands, to working in the public sector and government and nonprofits and higher education. Everything works together, and everything certainly has worked together to help build my business. So thankful for the question.
Nice. And what about, working in the space? And obviously, you do this within your company, but working as a chief marketing officer, for a little girl who might be watching this and maybe knows a little bit about marketing, knows she has some leadership traits, but knows nothing about what that is. What would you say to her? Like, what are some of your day-to-day tasks in that perspective?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. Strategy is definitely where I focus a lot of my time, and to be strategic and to think about marketing in that way is not something that I was taught. I was taught how to be what I call a doer, how to execute marketing, which is, it's fine, right? But in my roles, And in my opportunities, what I've discovered is how to be a thinker. And it's okay to be a thinker.
Mm,
And people pay you to be a thinker, to solve
mm,
problems. And so, what I would offer anyone, especially young women who may be watching this tonight, is to gain experiences that allow you to be a thinker. And that might not be given outright, right?
mm,
Like you might be hired to do something, but really own that role. That's something that I can say has been consistent in my professional
mm,
career. Not only did I do my job, but I did it so well that I owned that role, and that role made room for me to expand because I grew
mm,
out of it. And
mm,
so that's what I would offer and encourage um, any young woman watching this today. I would also encourage her to reframe when things get hard, or
mm,
reframe when you have to focus or
mm.
encounter different difficult circumstances, because you're going to face them. But
Yeah.
rather than projecting or even putting the blame on someone else, take ownership there as well. Hard work has been a part of my character, integrity, just making sure that you do what you're supposed to do, and you do the right thing, and you treat people well. That's something that one of my mentors told me, and so that stayed with me, and that's what I would offer.
No, I'm actually really glad that you said ownership. I mm, I want to sit there for a quick second. You know, it that is really important to me, and I've always been one to do so. Um, but I always found that in a lot of spaces, workspaces for me personally, I didn't always see that. And it didn't necessarily change, my integrity in doing so. But if I'm honest, because I like to be honest here on Unpopular,
Mm-hmm.
which is an unpopular thing to do, I feel like sometimes, um, it it was tough because it put me in a space where I'm like, why do I always have to take the high road every single time, and no
Mm-hmm.
one else does? And then sometimes it would position me in a place where I'm like, now I feel like I'm owning everyone else's stuff instead of just mine. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it did sharpen my tool to be able to um, speak up and speak for myself when I needed to, but then also knowing when, like, what battles to fight. Like, okay, this is small. This is not a big deal. But
Right.
sometimes the small things start to add up and they reoccur too often, and so you do have to say something. And so I think I've learned to set a certain tone when it comes like I'll kind of make it clear like how I work, how I move, how things should be done, and then I feel like that would help eliminate when people don't take ownership, when people are honest in that way. And I think because I've always been naturally transparent, unapologetically, and even though there's definitely been times where I felt intimidated to do so and kind of quenched back and kind of like shrinked back into, molding into kind of what everyone else was doing or the work culture, whether it's good or bad. Um, but I think it challenged me to um, continue to be transparent, and then setting that bar. And then when I set that transparent bar, when I'm honest and saying, "Oh my goodness, I totally made that mistake. Sorry," it was almost like a, did she just like she didn't try to figure out a way to say, well, this is supposed to be this anyway. And I'm sure you've
Right.
seen a lot of that. I've seen a ton of that, and it boils my blood. It's just like, just be honest. It's okay. We're human. We are allowed to make mistakes.
Right.
And then I felt like the more I did it, the more I saw it. I noticed the power
Mm.
that I had to shift spaces in yeah, to be able to do that. I realized it, and it's not always easy though, because sometimes it could be embarrassing when you make a mistake, right?
Right.
But owning your I don't want to just say mistakes, but owning what you do well, or owning what you could have done better, your challenges, your opportunities, is so important. I feel like in executive spaces, because I personally was not seeing that enough. I feel like the training had been to like, well, this is how you can kind of package it or wrap it so it doesn't seem so. Have you been challenged in that way, or how would you respond to everything that I just said in terms of my experience? Or what advice would you give me?
That's really good. I think being transparent is so important, and it does help you to set the pace, especially when you're leading teams. So that is what I would like to offer in that moment. I think it's also okay, when you build that relationship of trust,
Mm,
to do that with leadership. Again, it really goes back to the space that you're in and being mindful that you bring a certain set and a different set of skill sets and identities to the table.
mhm,
And so while I am an advocate for being articulate and vocal, especially when things aren't serving you, or when it's an opportunity to do so, I'm just very mindful about those spaces. And the higher that you climb, the more you're going to have to be very intentional and thoughtful
mm,
about what you say and how you say it.
mm,
That's not
mhm,
to say that you have not been. This is more so for everyone, including myself, right? I'm
mhm,
talking to
mhm,
myself
mhm,
here.
mhm,
I have
mhm.
to remind myself
Yeah.
that you have to be aware of that and then speak from that awareness. Pick your battles. There are some times where you're going to need to say something and be vocal or ask a question. Just asking a question sometimes will shift
That's
the
true.
conversation. So you're able to say things without really saying it. Have you thought about whatever it
Mhm,
might be?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so it's really being strategic even in those spaces. But I do applaud you and anyone for sharing and using your voice. I think it's really important. I think what I've encountered is how, when to do it and what to say when you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I really do appreciate you saying that. And I hope, people watching get something from that, because that's always, I feel like, a hard thing to navigate, as Black people and as women,
Right.
in any space really, but especially in the executive spaces.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, yeah. As you navigate, climbing higher and higher throughout your positions,
Mhm.
and throughout your career, what role has faith played in your career, or how important has your faith been?
It's played an integral part of my career, my work, because I have to have faith first in myself that I can do the work, that I can show up.
Mhm,
And when that
mhm.
starts to fail me, and even if it doesn't, my belief in God, my belief um, in Him and His teachings have really pulled me through, have gotten me through some really dark and challenging moments in my life. And so I always fall back on that, but I do keep that forward, right? That's still a part of what frames my entire existence. So
Mm,
instead of it being something that I do, it's who I am. Now,
yeah.
I am not going to lead with that. I'm not going to say to everyone, "Hey guys, I'm a believer,"
Mm,
but it's going to come across in my work. And
mm,
when people try to distract you, it's going to come across in
mm,
those situations. It's going to give you the wisdom to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, or when you just need to be quiet, because there's certain things that when they play out, you don't need to say a word. It's going to play out. It's going to play out.
that
You're just waiting.
part.
And you're like, yep,
Mm,
yep. So yeah, it's been essential, everything, the through line for everything that I do and who I am, and it's really kept me centered. It's kept me moving forward. It's kept me grounded, and it's kept me in peace.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's the greatest
awesome.
that you can have.
We take it for granted often.
Mm.
Yeah, we won't realize it in the moments, but we do take peace for granted. So yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that. Um, You don't have to say specifically, but is there anyone in your circle or sphere of influence that you feel like you can receive spiritual counsels, like specifically spiritual counsel when it as it relates to your career? I think I think I've had some conversations where that's hard for some women to find that. You may
Mhm.
find mentors, you may find people that you can look up to and who
Right.
have similar values, but that spiritual piece may be a little harder. Do you have that? And if you do, how'd you find it?
I do have it. I'm very grateful that I have it because while my mentors, some of them don't lead with their belief system, meaning they're not leading with that in every conversation, like you need to pray about this. No, it's practical steps to help me succeed and that they tell others to help them succeed. But I'm very grateful that I found that common belief system, right, in a lot of my mentors, and so they're able to instruct me or to give me advice from that vantage point. And I'm truly grateful for it.
That's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I've just found, in certain conversations that that's a little hard to find. One, I mean, it's 2024, so these days finding a black woman who's excelling in leadership isn't necessarily hard. Um, well, depends on how you see it, actually, but
Mhm.
depends on how you see it. I'm gonna have to retract that statement, um, but finding someone who you can rely on spiritually or holds the same core values as you can sometimes be a challenge. So that's awesome that you've been able to find both. um Actually, before we even pivot, what piece of advice would you give, again, a young woman watching this who feels like she hasn't been able to find that, until she's able to find that? What are some tools or strategies that she can use until then?
That's a good question. And when you were talking, I was reminded about a conversation that I recently had with
Mm,
another leader in the area. And she asked me about mentors and how do I find mentors and what do I think about mentors? And I want to lead with this before I answer your question, because I thought that it was helpful in that moment for her.
yeah.
And so I told her that when I went out and I sought mentors, that the fruition of those relationships or the end result of those relationships weren't what I had, in mind, what I
Mm,
expected.
mm,
When I instead met someone and we connected and they decided I am their mentor, or they led that conversation, I knew that that was not only good ground and a good space to be in, but I was more likely to succeed because I was not going out and looking at somebody's credentials and saying, oh, this person, yeah, yeah, you're qualified to be my
mm,
mentor. Or, no, you need
mm,
to be my mentor because you've
mm, mm,
accomplished all of this. I
mhm.
really let my steps be ordered, what I believe would,
That's so
what God
good.
ordered and ordained for me. And so because I've learned to step back a little bit and
Mm,
wait and observe and see
mm,
if what this person is saying aligns with their character and see,
mhm.
does this person want to invest their time and their wisdom and their learning in me? And then I say yes to that.
Yeah, that's
So
so
that's what
good.
I would offer, because now the mentors in my life, it happened the second way, right? I am not very quick to be looking for a mentor, but the mentors that I do have in my life, I believe are God ordained, and they're supposed to be in my life
Yeah.
for a reason. And so, very grateful for that. What I would say is to look for people, and I'm careful when I say this. Um, People who share the same values and belief systems and principles as you. If there are voices or women online that you could find, right, that you know have built their lives, not just their careers, on values that align with you, to start there.
Mm.
To follow what they're doing, to pay attention to the work that they're doing. When they do share advice, what is that advice?
Mm.
Right? And you'll know if it aligns with your belief system or if it aligns with your values or where you want to go in life. Because
Yeah.
I'm aware that we're speaking to many different people right now. And just start from there. Start from there, but also a bit of caution when you are meeting people. Let them decide, because
Yeah.
those are people that are really going to pour into you. But start with building a relationship with them, not really seeking anything from them. Build an organic relationship. And if you connect and you'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. You will, yeah, you'll definitely know. You'll feel the I always use the word genuine. That's my thing. Like I don't
Mm,
like forcing things. I've been one thing that I feel like I say a lot, probably a lot on the show too, is like I've never personal. It's just personal. This is nothing against anyone who does. I've just never been a personal fan of networking. Why? Because it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for you, girl. So, but people on the outside will say, "Oh, you're amazing at networking. I've seen you." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, that's not me
mhm.
networking. That's just me being myself.
Uh,
Because I'm not, in my opinion, I've gotten better. I'll use my words a little bit better, which is I've gotten better in social spaces.
mhm.
Um, uh, yeah, I can get pretty introverted, believe it or not. A lot of people do
Yeah.
not believe that about me. They're like, no way, you're so outgoing and sociable. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, if only you knew. If only
Right.
you knew.
Yeah.
But so I always knew that like networking, quote unquote, wouldn't really work for me. I've tried it and I always in college and fell on my face every time. And so I would cry out to God, like, okay, God, like in this career, like this is all about networking. And, da, 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 da. And I'm like good at it. What am I supposed to do? And he was just
Mhm.
like, be yourself. I've put you in so many rooms. I've done so much with you. Just be
Yeah.
yourself. And so genuine is the word that I always use. Like if I feel like there's this genuine bond, like all of us like this genuine click, then cool. And if there isn't, I'm not gonna force it. It doesn't have to happen. So I
Yeah.
love that. It has to be organic. Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
So I always ask an unpopular question. What is your unpopular claim, moment, or opinion?
To be strategic. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is if you are working in a space that everything that you do serves a purpose, that there are no wasted or unfruitful efforts.
mm,
So when you look at ownership in that way and being strategic in that way, it is unpopular,
mm,
because I found in some spaces, in a lot of spaces, that it is more acceptable to keep the status quo or to go along with how we've always done things, rather than take a hard look about why we're doing the things that we're doing, and does it make sense?
yeah.
Is it going to move us forward? Is it going to help us to reach our end goals? And so that's been really unpopular, but it's been an area that I lead, my life in, and being very intentional, because I think it's only when you're intentional that you're able to move the needle on the things that matter.
Mm. I'm so glad that you elaborated because I was going to say, how was that? Because I know my viewers are going to be like, how is that unpopular? But I'm so glad you elaborated. And I see how it is. I do see how it is. I love that.
Good, good.
Yeah. So I want to end with a little lightning round and I'm taking it to church a little bit. All right. So you have 5 seconds to answer each question. There's only four, or excuse me, there's five. So you have 5 seconds to answer the question. So the the subject matter for this one is name that Christian. I know. I know. Okay. So it's going to be a brighter day.
Kirk Franklin.
There you go. We fall down, but we get up.
Donnie McKirkland.
Yeah. I was like, I wanted to start off kind of easy and ease our way in.
Oh boy.
All right. So this next one, baby, I'm too busy counting all my blessings.
I do not know, but that sounds like Karen Hawthorne to me.
It's so funny. As I wrote it, I thought of her, and there was someone else. I thought I was like, this could be a few people. That one's actually Lecrae.
Oh, nice. I love Lecrae. Okay, cool.
Okay. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters.
Ooh, that's good. I have no idea. Who is that?
Apostle Paul. That's the great writer.
Oh, you went to the Bible. Okay, yeah. I thought these were all lyrics. I was like, who said that?
I know. I had to switch it up. Gotta keep y'all on your toes. It's funny. It's funny. I was gonna use something else by him, and then I was just like, that could be like so many other people. So let me like narrow it down. All right, last one. Good. As I go to the King, even though it's against the law, and if I perish, I perish.
Ooh, Esther.
Yes.
That forwardness. I love that.
Mm-hmm. You did good, sis. You did good. You did.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Véronique.
You're welcome.
For joining me. Tell the people where we can support you and learn more about you.
Yes, absolutely. Please visit theVLGgroup.com. You can find me on social media, Véronique L. George, and also VLG Productions, and now the VLG Group.
Awesome. Thank you again. And we definitely have to do a part 2. You are more than welcome to come on the show.
Thank you. I would love that.